Hey everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you today how to make tomato head cake from Fortnite. Okay, unless you've been living pretty much under a rock, you have probably heard someone who plays Fortnite talk about tomato head or Durr Burger. I made a pair of little cakes here and I decorated one for each one in honor of the rivalry and just because it seemed like it'd be fun to do. As you may have noticed, I used a cake dummy on this one just to get the feel of it and the look of it without actually having to bake a cake, just to show you guys. So I covered my cake with the same color red as top tomato. It's not really a true red. It's more orange red than just red, so make sure you have that color going when you mix it. And I'm going to add this cream here that I rolled out thin and cut into long stripes. If you look up the the tomato head skin, you're going to see the guy's uniform. He wears like a red vest with white stripes and he's got like purple collar and teal sleeves kind of. So I'm trying to incorporate that feel and the colors into the cake itself. So I have that same color kind of orangey red. I'm covering it with the cream stripes. And again, if you look at the skin, you'll see that his shirt or the stripes on his shirt are very large and spaced apart. So if you do this, you don't need to go crazy with the striping or anything. And I also rolled them out kind of thick. Looking back on it, I should have done it thinner, but I didn't. So if you do decide to make this, make them thinner, okay? And the teal that I mentioned before, I am going to make into a border to wrap around the bottom of the cake. When I mixed this color, it's not a true teal, it's more teal with green added to it. I added light green to get more of a mint, I guess, kind of a color out of it, kind of a fresher color. So that's what I did here, and I used that tool there to roll out an evenly sized stripe that I'm going to wrap around. If you don't have that tool, it's not a big deal. Just, use anything you got. Use a ruler or a little piece of measuring tape, whatever you got, to make sure that it's an even thickness all around. And as I'm putting it up against the cake, I am trimming away the cream colored stripes that I got there in order to make it lay flush up against it. Like some people don't take the time to do it. I highly recommend you do it if you don't already, just because it makes it lay against the cake nice and flat so you don't have these lumps in your border around the edge. It just gives it a nicer, cleaner look. Okay? Now, you got the cake, you got the stripes, you got your border. I'm going to prep it a little bit more and then we will make the tomato. I got a circle. I pressed down just enough to cut out the cream colored stripes in the center. And I'm going to make a little stage basically for the tomato decoration to sit on. I rolled out the purple, again going back to his shirt collar that sticks out as purple. So I made a circle of purple, the same size circle that I cut out before. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. And stick it on there, adjust it because circles always move a little bit. Make it nice and neat. And then I'm taking a little bit more cream and I'm just going to outline the edge of the purple with the cream. Again, I use my little fancy tool there to get the same thickness stripe all the way around. If you don't have it, do the best you can. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. You don't need to have it. I just did it because I thought it would look better. So yeah, that's what I did. Wrap it around carefully. I'm using my little circle cutter there just to make sure my edges are nice and rounded and I don't have it all lumpy since I did just put it on freehand. It was a little off. Okay, now we're getting to the fun part. We're getting to the tomato head. I started again with that orangey red color and I made a ball, surprisingly enough, right? It's a little bit oblong. It's a little bit wider than it is tall. It's kind of hard to tell in this angle, but it is. It's a little bit oblong. So make sure it's nice and smooth. Make sure you don't have fingerprints in it or anything. And I'm using this rounded off tool here to make the mouth first. I press down, I dig in, I kind of lift up on the edges there for the cheeks. And I'm using the smaller end and I'm pushing down and kind of like lifting up. You can see me lifting up there to create a lip for the top and the bottom. So there's an actual edge. It's not just pressed in. There is a ridge along the top and bottom of the mouth. I'm using the tool again, make a little divot underneath the bottom lip just because that's what he has. I don't know. So yeah, you got a mouth. Make sure it's kind of nice and smooth. Make sure it's got a good sized grin. His cheek, his smile kind of goes up about halfway on either side of his face. But be careful to try to keep it nice and even too. The black, as you saw, I took a long roll of it and pressed down in the center, and then putting it in there, I'm filling in the groove. I'm lining the mouth. I'm not actually filling it in, so it still is concave. It still recesses into the mouth. And the black, I'm trying to get it to go up underneath that lip of the mouth, okay? So you still want to have a nice dip inside the mouth. And the eyes, I'm just doing a couple of ovals basically. They're not nice and straight up and down on his face. They tilt toward the center up top a little bit more than the bottom. I may have over-exaggerated it here, but it's not terrible. It's still workable. All right, you're going to fill them in with white. They are pretty symmetrical, so try to keep them as even as you can, even though they do tilt a little bit. A little bit of black on either one to make the pupil. The pupils, they're not real big. They're kind of small. They're toward the bottom and centered. And they are oblong like the eyes, so just be careful how you shape them and place them. I probably should have had them come down a little bit more than I did, but, you know, learn from my mistakes, right? That flat piece of rectangle there is going to be the teeth inside the mouth. It's pretty darn thin. I made sure it was not too long and wide. That's why I had it in the mouth and then took it out and trimmed the sides. I'm trimming a little niche out of the bottom. I used my knife, as you saw, and made a imprint down the center to separate the top and bottom teeth. And now you can see the bottom teeth are a little bit shorter. I kind of cut them in than the top teeth. This is just because that's how it looked in the picture. It looked like his bottom teeth were just a little bit, recessed in more than the top teeth. And following the curve of his mouth, stick them in there and press them into place. This is where you have to be careful with the size. That's why I had measured it out before and had it held up to his mouth and trimmed off anything I needed. It has to sit inside his mouth, and the bottom teeth have black that show between the lip and the teeth, the way I have there, so be careful of that. The top you don't have to be as careful because we're going to end up covering it with a mustache later. So just, be careful how you work that bottom of it. That semicircle I cut a niche out of and now I cut in half. I'm cutting like extra little pieces out of are going to become eyebrows. So I just trimmed it off to the size I need, a little bit of water, and press them into place. They go above the eyes and a little bit to the side, and they're curved nicely. He's got very nice, friendly kind of eyebrows. They're happy and simple kind of eyebrows. They're not angry or showing any type of negative emotion at all. So make sure you keep them highly arched and curved and friendly. And now we're going to get to the mustache, all right? I took my brown, holding it up to see where I want to place it. His mustache doesn't go to the ends of his mouth. They go almost to the ends of the mouth, so maybe like 3/4 of the way. So I just took that thick piece of brown, trimmed it so the length is proper, and then I'm carving, the curve there on one side, and I'll try to match it on the other side. And that's going to be the start of the mustache. It's going to be a lot of shaping and kind of reworking. I guess if you wanted to print a picture of him at this point, you could. And then, make a mustache template if your sizes match up. I don't know how necessary it is because, it's a mustache. It's not the Mona Lisa we're making, so it shouldn't be too tough. But, if you got to do it, you got to do it. No problem, right? So I cut a little triangle wedge out of the bottom there to make it even more mustachio shaped. Shape it up with my fingers a bit. Make sure it's pretty darn even. And I did leave it a little thicker also, I forgot to mention, when I cut this out, so that if I did have to shape it or pull it because it wasn't quite long enough, I'd had the thickness to do it. So as you can see, some shaping and pressing and twisting and bending and whatever. You got yourself a mustache. Place it on his face, and the top of the mustache should be right under his eyes. The bottom of the mustache should be right at the top of his mouth, okay? And the two little points on either end do cover into the black part of his mouth. So we're doing good here. All right, this is more green. This is a very yellow green. I added some yellow to it. And this is going to be the stem and leaves on the top of his head. Okay, so I cut out my triangle. I use that ball tool that you saw me do right there to just kind of hollow it out a little bit in the center. And I'm just kind of accenting the edges a bit more, which made it misshapen, so I had to retrim it. I did this because it looked like it was thicker on the sides in the pictures and kind of had a divot in the middle where the center of the leaf was. So that's what I was trying to do there. It has two bends on the one that goes over the left eye. As you saw, it tips up and then down, up and down and up and down and up, like a ski jump sort of. All right, and here is another one, same idea as before. So I'm going to have the same bends. Bend the tip up, bend it down halfway through the middle, and that's going to go opposite. So now that's going to be on the back right of him. All right, we're going to make 4 leaves total, okay? And these last 2 are going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit simpler. Same idea, roll out your triangle, or excuse me, cut out your triangle. Only one bend though, and that goes right in the middle and down. And we're going to do the same thing for the last one, so it goes opposite into the back left of our little tomato head here. I didn't put them down, put them with water yet. I wanted to make sure they all fit and were sized right and everything. So now I'm doing it. Now I'm using my water and squishing them all into place. Okay, and after you get your leaves into place, don't move them too much because they'll fall off. They kept falling off on me. And then we're going to add the stem. The stem is literally just what it sounds like. A little green cylinder, flat on the top. See, it moved. It made me nuts. Flat on the bottom, a little wider on the bottom. And I'm using a piece of lollipop, or excuse me, spaghetti, dry spaghetti, not lollipop, to attach it into his little tomatoey head. And reposition everything, and isn't that lovely? And you're like, wow, that looks really good. We're done. Nope, not done yet. I'm going to take a little bit of my food coloring and start painting him in. I'm taking some yellow, a little bit of water, and I'm going over the outside edges of the leaves on his head. In the pictures, they seem to have a bit of a yellow shine to them, so I'm trying to get that feel by doing this. I don't know how well it worked, but I went over all the outside edges of the leaves and the stem itself. This is some orange color. I'm going to give him a little bit of an orange wash now over his entire little head. So anything that is tomatoey, I am painting now with a wash of water and orange food coloring. Tomato head is very shiny. I don't know if he's supposed to be a plastic head or something, but he's very shiny and he had kind of an orange shine to him, so that's what I was trying to go for here. The brown with the water that I mixed is going to be for his mustache. If you look at pictures of his mustache, it has 3 dark sections. It has the top section that I'm kind of painting in right here. It has like a stripe in the middle that I did right there. And then he has another dark brown stripe at the bottom. So he has these light brown stripes that go through the length of his mustache, and I'm just putting a little bit over his eyebrows so they wouldn't feel left out. So again, back to the mustache again. You got the big hump part that's all dark and filled in, and then you have the one little stripe that I'm going to do eventually. And then you're going to have the bottom stripe as well. So I don't know why. I think it was just, some seams in the color or something. So that's what I'm trying to emulate here. The center, you can see it seems a little bare, so I just kind of filled it in a little bit because I didn't know what else to do with it. And now as far as his eyes, I'm doing the black of his pupils with a little bit of black. I don't even know if I added any water for that. I might not have. I might have just done straight up black. I'm putting a little white ball of gum paste on either pupil in order to give him little highlights. Okay, one on each side. Doesn't he look lovely? And let him dry, let him harden up, and then stick him on top. I used a lollipop stick and ram him right through. And you've got your tomato head Fortnite cake. So I hope you like this video. I hope you found it helpful. Check out my other videos. I'm going to have another Fortnite cake with Durr Burger coming out soon. Please like and subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.